This is Julia from the MoonBound podcast, and I'd like to wish you a happy December 7th. This is Vlogmas, and welcome back to my living room. I would love to tell you that I spent the morning just knitting away like a productive fiber artist. That is not what I did. I actually slept. I stayed up quite a bit last night working on editing, and just I was out of sorts yesterday. There was a whole bunch of petty little arguments with people and just tiny stressors. Nothing that is even worth commenting, but it was just a whole bunch of little straws, and individually they seemed very silly, but it just got me very, very down and very upset. And so I was just, upset and out of sorts. And so I spent my evening kind of wishing that I could knit because my wrist was still bothering me a little bit, and watching the Great British Baking Show, which always cheers me up. And so I didn't get a lot done yesterday evening, but I did stay up. And finally I decided to go to bed with a novel, and that helped. So I read for a while. But then I must have been really tired or emotionally worn out or something like that, because I ended up sleeping for a good chunk of the day. So I don't have a lot accomplished for today. We're having a bit of a bagel for breakfast. Our tea is apple cinnamon chai. That is a herd of children. I'm on camera, girls, so could you please go do your chores?
Can the camera hear me?
Yes, the camera can hear me. In a gardening mug, because I'm starting to think
Why are you
about
wearing it like that?
so that the camera can see me better. So I have this gardening mug today with getting my first seed catalog yesterday. The gardening plans are starting to work through my brain. I am an indifferent gardener, but an amazing gardening planner. I love the potentiality of seeds and thinking about what all I'm going to do come spring when the ground is frozen solid and there's snow. We don't have any yet, but there will be long before I can garden. However, when actually gardening time rolls around, I tend to be more interested in being inside and spinning and weaving and such like that. So my garden gets planted pretty much the way I planned it, and then the weeds don't get removed, and so the garden doesn't do very well. I give some consideration to not doing a garden this year. I think I'm going to do a very focused garden this year, so that my daughter is actually standing behind the camera now waving at me. So that I don't end up overextending myself again this year and feeling very disappointed come fall. So mostly herbs, probably some tomatoes, because Bunny is a bunny in all respects. She loves tomatoes and carrots and vegetables. So do that. I think she's just running down the stairs and didn't just fall. So there's that. I want to show you, the tea is apple cinnamon chai. So it's got a little bit of milk in it. It's one of the only teas I drink with milk and sugar is the spicy stuff. I think the spice needs the fat from the milk to fully develop the flavors. So here's our socks for today. That's where we were yesterday. That's how much progress I got done yesterday. So we're cruising on those. Now, hopefully she'll stay out of the room long enough for me to show you. I tucked it away because she was coming. And we are there. There's our two progress keepers. Back under the blanket my sister crocheted for me, so she can't see that. Yesterday's mail, I forgot to show you this. Yesterday's mail came with this lovely card, and I initially thought that even though it's very springy, that it was actually a Christmas card, but it wasn't. It was a get well soon card from all the ladies in my guild, and everybody signed it and wrote little messages, and I thought that was very sweet. I thought it was very practical and amusing of them to include the membership dues form, which is normally collected in November, and I missed the November meeting. So not only was it sweet of them to do this, I thought it was very practical of them to have included that, and very helpful, because I now don't have to print out the form and get it mailed to them. I just have to fill it out and mail it to them. But, you know, that really served to help brighten my day yesterday. I'm going to, as far as plans today, work on some knitting, try to get the Christmas village up, listen to the girls do their violin practice, catch up on some Vlogmas episodes from other people, and write a letter to my grandfather. I'm also going to I'm going to work on the stitch markers and bracelets that I talked about last night, and I'll try to get some photos of that so you can see what I'm doing. And I think I'm going to let you go and get to work, because I've run out of time today with all this sleeping nonsense I'm doing. I'll check back in with you later. So this is a Progress Keeper charm bracelet that I started before my surgery. The Progress Keepers are all done, but I decided I didn't like them hanging like this, so I'm going to go back in and add some jump rings so that there'll be a specific home for each Progress Keeper about the bracelet. And then when the knitter needs a Progress Keeper, they're right there on her wrist. No fumbling around in the bottom of your craft bag. I have a very tiny notions bag that I carry with me, and yet it doesn't matter how few things I have in that bag. It is always the absolute last thing that I grab. It's the little charm that I wanted. Here's the Christmas village. The girls helped me set it up today. They did a lot of the work. We need 2 replacement bulbs for these houses. Welcome back. It is solidly the end of the day. There's 10 minutes left in December 7th. Just kind of trying to pack everything into today. And so we'll be up for a while yet. For sock knitting, I am about there. Hoping to get some more progress done yet tonight before I go to bed while I'm editing things. I did get Christmas cards. I love Christmas cards. They're so fun. So I have these two. I normally hang them up on a wall, or in a window rather, in the house so everyone can enjoy them. The one came with a long newsy letter, but as she's a really close friend, there wasn't so much news there for me, but I do like receiving that. I can't find my address book right now, so my Christmas cards are still sitting here, and I just got in touch with my mom a little while ago, and she's going to send me all of the family addresses again so that I can get my stuff out. I mentioned before I was going to write my grandfather a letter to include in his Christmas card. I have not gotten to that yet, so that's on the agenda for tomorrow. I did a lot of sitting here and knitting and watching podcasts. I also did some beadwork, you saw, and the girls and I got the Christmas village up. It was a huge tradition in my family to have Christmas villages. I don't really know where that comes from, but that was the thing. And my mother had a really fancy one. In fact, she still has it, but she doesn't bring it out very much, which was based on Charles Dickens stuff. So it was shops and buildings that were referenced in A Christmas Carol, and it just a really, really beautiful, elaborate thing. And she didn't put it up when my children were very little, or when her golden retriever was around, because big tails and breakable objects. And so she put it up a couple of years, and now that my nephew is going to be home for Christmas, and he's only 2, it is not getting put up again. So I was very excited to get mine up. Mine is not anywhere near as fancy as my mother's or as expensive, but it's really cheerful, and normally I set it up in the other room behind me with the fireplace, and this time I decided to set it up in the living room so that I could see it. And we still need to go out and get some replacement light bulbs, and my husband was talking about seeing if he could find me a replacement for the street lights, because they run on regular batteries and they just burn out so fast. So he was thinking that maybe he could find me an LED set, and then they would last much longer and be more conservative of energy. So that's that. He finally gave me some ideas for Christmas presents. Little does he know I already have some things for him. I was on a group board, like a forum last night, and they were talking about how stressed they were over Christmas presents, and they wish that their extended families didn't insist on everybody, including the adults, exchange presents. And I think that it's not meant to be a chore. It's meant to be something that you enjoy, and not... Okay, my training is as an anthropologist, so I understand that it is an obligation. It is a social contract, and it is supposed to be an exchange. And that exchange, the act of exchanging, academically, is serving the purpose of cementing those bonds. Emotionally, it's serving something else. It is serving the purpose of expressing love for people who express love in that way. Some people really feel loved when they're receiving gifts. Some people when they're giving gifts. Some people when they're spending time, or various other ways. And I think a lot of times when people are caught up in the stress of any event, but in particular, the holiday season is very stressful for a lot of people. So when you get caught up in that stress, you don't necessarily see or maybe remember that the point is about giving love. And if you're so tangled up in that stress that all you see is, I have X number of people on my list and I have to come up with X number of ideas and I don't know what they want and I'm going to spend too much money and I'm going to put myself into debt, then you lose the whole point. The point is not to see how many things we can get or see how many things we can make. I'm really bad at that one. I really, like, there's something about this season that just kicks my imagination and my creativity into overdrive and at the same time shuts off the part of my brain that is good at determining how long I have left in a day and how long a thing will take me to do. So normally, for the entire Christmas season, I don't really sleep, like 2 hours, 3 hours tops. A couple of years ago, I was super going crazy, and it was 3 in the morning, and I was kneading dough for hoska, which is a traditional Czechoslovakian bread that my grandmother was Czechoslovakian, and so this was something we always had growing up. She bought hers at a store. I found a recipe, really loved it. But in any event, it was 3 o'clock in the morning, and I'm making this bread, and my sister, who was staying with us, came out and said, "What are you doing?" And I said, "Well, I'm kneading the hoska." And she said, "Why are you kneading the hoska? It's 3 in the morning." And I said, "Because otherwise it won't get done. This is when I have time to do it." "But Julia, why are you kneading the hoska? If it doesn't get done, it's not that important. I mean, we can eat something else. You have tons of baked goods." And she finally took it from me and ordered me to go to bed. And in my head, it was just, these are all the things I have to get done, and this is when I can get them done, and I can't let anyone down. And I just built this stress upon myself. And I'm seeing that in the world. I'm seeing that in all of the people, not all of the people, but a good chunk of the people that I'm interacting with, that they've either made this realization that they have to opt out, they can't do this, or they're just caught in this stress. And it takes away the joy of this season, I think. Some people thrive on it. I do thrive on it. I really, it's my jam. Overbooking things, working to deadlines, that's my thing. But I worry about it. And I'm noticing that with my enforced stillness, because I can't walk and I can't stand particularly well. I can stand on one foot real briefly. I can stand with my knee balanced on the scooter. I'm looking that way because that's where it is. And I can do that for a little while, but it's an awkward position and I can't maintain it for very long. And it's standing, but it's also using one hand to help me balance and stand. I'm not a very balanced person. I'm a big klutz, even before I broke my leg. And walking around is slow, even though I'm on wheels. There's just turning and all of that. So I can't move around the house as much as I want to. It's not even just I can't get downstairs. I'm like planning trips, and I have a bag on the front of my scooter to carry things so that I only have to go across the house one time in this trip, you know. But part of what that's given me is enforced stillness. And so it's taken days now to get some of the holiday decorations up. A little bit at a time, here and there. And I'm finding that I am appreciating each single thing more, each accomplishment more. And it's not like it's a real big accomplishment, you know, setting some houses out on some polyfilm. In the grand scheme of things, that's not an accomplishment. But it is decorating the house, and it is a tradition that we've done for years and years and years. The first house, which was actually the church in my set, was bought. My husband was away. He travels a fair amount for work. And we stopped at one store. It's no longer there. We stopped at a store downtown, and the kids were with me. And the parking lot was full of snow. And rather than move the car and get everybody buckled back in, they were in car seats. And if you've ever had multiple children in car seats, you know that that's quite a hassle. So I decided that I'd just push the stroller and make the older two, or three, I don't remember how many were with me, down to the hardware store, which was where we needed, the other thing we needed was, it wasn't a long walk, it was less than a quarter mile, but small children trudging through snow, pushing a stroller through a not particularly well plowed lot was like an epic journey. And when we got there, we got the thing we were there for. It was something that was obvious that you'd go to a hardware store. But they also had this display of Christmas villages. And I really loved the look of the church. It reminds me very much of the church my grandmother and great-grandmother went to, that my parents were married in, that I was baptized in. And so I decided to buy it. And then I thought, well, one house isn't really much of a village. But I decided that I would just build it one house at a time, which was what my mother did with her. She received one house at a time, usually as gifts. And so that got tucked into the bottom of the stroller, and across the parking lot we went. And I remember better this year the feeling putting that one house up in my home gave me than my normal race around the house, doing all the Christmas as fast as I possibly could, normally gives me. And so I'm going to try to hold into my head that I should savor each and everything. You can eat a bag of chocolate and it will still, every bite will still taste as good. But if you eat it all at once, you won't realize that. But if you eat one piece at a time, it tastes better. And so that's kind of what I'm thinking about, what I'm mulling over in my mind about Christmas right now. And maybe expanding it about into other aspects of my life. I don't know. That's just what I'm thinking about today. That's where my head is at. So I hope that you give gifts because you want to give gifts, that you spend time thinking about the other person, the person who's receiving it, and not be focused on, I have to give a gift and it's just going to cost me money and it's just going to be something they stick in the back of their closet. But rather, what is this person like? Who are they as a person? What do they like? What do they read? What do they want? What are their habits? I bought a present for a friend of ours this year, and I have no idea if they want the thing I bought for them. But I noticed something that they did several times when we came over, and the thing I bought is for that. And so maybe it will make them smile. Maybe they won't use it at all. That's not part of my process. The idea is that this thing, even though I didn't make it, and I'm usually really pro making gifts, is something that I think that they will like, and spent the time thinking of them. So it doesn't actually matter as much to me when I receive a gift if it isn't exactly right, but if it was something that they thought I would like. It means that they spent time thinking about me, and that really is the gift, isn't it? So there's our Christmas meditation for the day. I don't think I have anything else to say. So I think I'm going to say good night, and I will see you tomorrow.